Hey friends, it's me, Pastor Doug, with another word of encouragement for the day, for today, Friday, March 5th. And today's word comes out of Matthew chapter 4, verses 8, 9, and 10. And in it, we continue our exploration of Jesus as the King. And let me give you the quick backstory on what we're going to read today. So this is at the very beginning of Jesus' ministry. He has been baptized by John. God has spoken the words over him as he came out of the water that this is my son in whom I am well pleased. And then immediately the Spirit of God led Jesus out into the desert to be tempted for 40 days and 40 nights. So Jesus has gone 40 days and 40 nights with no food, probably very little sleep. He's out in the elements. He's tired and cold and hungry. And Satan has just been attacking him and tempting him the whole time. And finally, it builds to this culmination, this climax where Satan has one last temptation. And we read about it in verses 8 and 9. We read this. Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. All of this I will give to you, he said, if you will bow down and worship me. I don't know if you remember as a kid having these conversations, but when I was a kid, we would always sit around and play the what would you do with $1 million game, right? You just sit around and go, what would you do if you had $1 million? And we would, buy all these extravagant things as kids, in our imagination. And basically Satan is offering Jesus all the riches of the world. He's saying, listen, you can have all of it if you will just bow down and worship me. Listen to how Jesus responds to this temptation. He says this, get away from me, Satan. The word Satan means adversary or enemy. He says, get away from me. For it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. It seems like a really compelling temptation, right? I mean, if you or I were tempted with all the riches of the world, that's a pretty compelling temptation, right? So how was Jesus able to resist this temptation so easily? Well, Jesus knew two things. One, he knew that all the riches and the splendor and the kingdoms of this world were already his. Jesus is King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and he was confident in that identity. And so Satan couldn't offer him something that was already his. And then the second thing that Jesus knew was that we are to worship the Lord our God. Only God is worthy of our devotion and our worship. And Jesus says, get out of here. Only God is worthy of worship. I'm not going to worship you. Friends, may you and I live like that. When we are confronted with temptation, when we are tempted to make decisions that we know are incompatible with our devotion to God, may we remember that truth, that only God is worthy of our worship. And may we worship God and worship him alone. Friends, have a great weekend. I sure hope you'll join us on Sunday morning, either for our live stream at 9:30 or in person at 10:30. And then we'll pick these videos back up on Monday. We'll see you then.